Hi guys, just waiting YouTube as usual. Usually, as I say every morning, you can probably see us, but I can't see that we are actually live. I'm just waiting for YouTube. Yeah, it's all confirmed. So good morning again. Amanda is here with us again. And we had a little chat this morning just before, a bit longer than usual as well, but we jumped in, which was amazing as well. If you watched the last episode, I shared a little bit of, the contraction and the feelings that I had as well. And of course, we spoke a little bit about contentment and discontentment and those feelings and how they work in our body on our episode yesterday. And today, this morning, it was interesting because I usually like before we jump into the call or live here on YouTube as well, I usually ask Amanda have a very clear, idea of like what we, the theme or the idea that we're going to speak today. And interestingly, I think it feels good to share a little bit of what we spoke just before the call. It's interesting, my throat is kind of playing around a bit.
I think it is.
And pardon?
I think there's a lot of healing for people around our throats. There's a lot of healing as well. And I think because you so wonderfully shared something was coming up for you yesterday, I think as we start to clear the
Yeah,
ability to just speak truthfully, and you've always been very open and honest, but there's a lot of healing going on for people around their throats. So I think that could be
awesome.
healing a little bit as well.
Good, yeah. So, just doing my little kind of, intro as I usually start. So there were like few things that we spoke about. One is the healing that we've done yesterday, and I'm so grateful and I'm really appreciative of like having people like Amanda, around me, and then that she was available when she helped me out. And like I said yesterday, I shared with you guys, sometimes you can do your own mental hygiene. And I like comparing, I'll bring that, analogy again. You brush your teeth every morning, every evening, you
Yeah.
have your routine of cleaning up and everything. And sometimes you might need go to the specialist, to a dentist or something. And I really feel that sometimes you get to go to a therapist or a specialist or a healer, whichever connects with you the most in there. But there was an interesting thing this morning as well, which Amanda brought it up, and I brought it up in different ways as well. It's not to become dependent on healing every single time. And like I'm on this sharing that this energy of like always healing, always healing, always healing, it's not, the intention is actually you can live your life, you can, carry on. And there will be moments like, it's like, that's why I like the analogy of the dentist. There will be sometimes every, I don't know, 6 months, a year, and for some people it's different. You might need to do a full cleanup of a checking in and so on, but you're not going to go to your dentist every single week, for example. That's not, the point. It's not even healthy to do a deep cleaning every single, week in that sense. So there's,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll leave with Amanda. I can feel that she's bringing it up some stuff, and I'll bring some of the other stuff that we spoke as well as we go along as well. So good.
Well, thank you, and good morning, everybody. Lovely to see you here. And yeah, I always love your introductions because you just put things in such a beautiful nutshell. And I think we were saying that as you spend more time in calmness and that stillness, and connect with that place within you that is that sort of higher self that is calm and still, and we're in that part of us that is starting to really know, not just have an idea, but know that we're wholeness and we're worthiness and we're magical creative beings. And it's a time now for us to really integrate and transform any of those fear-based survival beliefs, ideas, limitations. So there's a lot of people going through quite a lot at the minute because as you have more light come in, obviously anything that's in stark contrast to that is really going to show itself. So Jeannie and I were saying that even since we started doing this together, real profound healings going on that we've been sharing about. And Junie had one yesterday, and I had more yesterday. Um, but it's just to reassure anybody that if they're saying, God, and I know for Junie has done many years of work on himself, passionately working on himself, as I have. And it's not to say, well, I've been doing all this work and why is stuff still coming up? We're not saying that, but it will come a point where it will shift, where those limitations and fears and patterns will be transformed. And as humanity evolves, we will become the magical creatures that, to have an experience of creating from a place of joy and wholeness and insight and also technical advancement as well, but from a place of wholeness and love and unity. So I think that's the message I wanted to say as well, wasn't it? That as more light comes in, and there are going to be a lot of physical changes, and there's lots of people talking about the crystalline DNA, the fifth dimensional planet Earth, and I had a huge experience yesterday around crystalline DNA. And with Junior yesterday, as he was wonderfully, that part of him was so ready to done the work it needed to do. And we know that the energy that Junior brought back into wholeness and alignment, he's going to share that with other people as well in his healing. So there were thousands of people there that were being healed as Junior was being healed through Junior. But that crystalline energy, that light energy we were talking about this morning, and Junior you were sharing, weren't you, that wow, I was feeling drawn towards my crystals again. And it's trusting our intuition, isn't it? And what we guided to. And sometimes we might not know why straight away, but it's trusting what feels right and who feels right to talk to. If you know there's somebody you need a bit of help with something, it's trusting your intuition of who feels right to do that. And knowing that, I know we're going through quite profound healings at the moment, but into space with that, there's lots of calm and relaxation and moments of joy and laughter and fun, getting on with cooking tea and, chopping the wood and doing the everyday things, going to the shops, meeting your friends for coffee, talking about, everyday things. But also finding that conversations that you're wanting to have are conversations of upliftment. So we can talk about things we're going through, but conversations now are quite negative or complaining or gossiping. If you're on this path, you'll start to feel really uncomfortable now. You want to have conversations where, yeah, it feels like there's an evolution in this, there's an upliftment in here, and I can be authentic and say what I'm going through, because it's important. If you're feeling an energy or an emotion, that's there to be felt. So if you're feeling a sadness or an anxiety or just a weight that you can't put your finger on what it is, that might even be an energy that is deeper than our ego. And that's why Junior's beautifully said, what should we talk about today? And said, yeah, I think we need to talk about this.
I feel, Amanda, there's some, yeah, there are a few things coming through me as I'm listening to, what you're saying here. It's so easy to use, let's say, the healing as escape as well. Do you see what I mean? Like, I need this all the time, and I need, to be in a therapist. I need to be in a healer. I need to be on those places. And it's, again, you can see it's almost those patterns coming back in a different way. For example, there is, of course, the place where you're just sharing, where you're just having conversations of blame, shaming, what I mean, complaining and everything else, and you're completely unconscious of that. But it's very easy to tip to the other side, which is like, I'm very spiritual, I get to be on healing every day and so on, which is the same, pattern going back again, but just like in a mask of spiritual in that sense.
Yeah.
And I feel, yeah, like, but you have that connection with yourself where what I mean, your own power. And like we were talking about the crystals as well, and I know that you brought the crystal DNA idea and so on. And I was sharing to Amanda, I had a crystal that I got from one of my mentors a couple of years ago, probably 3 or 4 years now. And then I wore that. It felt good on that time to wear that crystal for a couple of years. And if you know me for a while, you've probably seen some pictures where I was wearing it almost every day. It felt connected. But there was also a moment where I felt so attached to it that you get to get out of it at that moment, kind of release. Otherwise, your inner power is so dependent on an external thing in that sense. And so it's actually, kind of always kind of coming back to you. And like we spoke of 2 episodes ago as well, who you really are, which is beyond, let's say, the crystals, beyond the thoughts, beyond the emotions, beyond anything that you do. And of course, you can use those tools to support you, but they are not you
Absolutely.
at the end of the day. Yeah.
I love that, Junior. I really love that. Yeah, I can. I love what you've just said in that fact that of course we use things, and of course we have tools and whatever we're using, but we will transform that. We will evolve beyond certain things, and that's okay. You know,
Yeah.
certain things that we use. Even on a healing basis, we have different things that feel right to use at different times. But you're absolutely right. It always comes back to the inner work within you, taking that within you. So that body awareness, that cellular awareness, your heart centered awareness, your soul awareness that is coming up through within this physical body. So, yeah, and talking about the spiritual ego as well, I hold my hand up for that. I know that's something I went through where, um, yeah, it was very much about spiritual work, and it's beautiful when you sort of recognize that and there's a lightness about it. You think, yeah, that's beautiful, and you recognize it, and we let go of the blame and shame. And that's why we were saying we're having profound healings ourselves, but at the same time, when we did the open-eye meditation, that's why it felt so beautiful to share that, because what we're saying is we want to lead our lives as spiritual human beings who are very present in this world. We're very grounded, we're very connected to the earth, we're very connected to each other on this deeper level. Um, we're very feeling orientated and sense orientated. But we are meant to be here to enjoy the physical world, to enjoy being in physical bodies. And the healings that we're experiencing now are things that are ready to evolve out of. We're knowing that we are so much more than just a physical being that's here. So we know that we don't just need to physically survive anymore. There's so much more we can tap into to ensure our survival here, because we've evolved. So we know that there's an energy, a universe, a God, a source that's around us that when we tune into it, wants our fullest lives. It wants us to live our fullest potentials. It wants us to live a life of joy and wholeness and enjoy being in this world, you know, not being scared of being here, not wondering why we're here, but enjoying that and enjoying a lightness about that as well. Because I think when we heal ourselves, it can all become quite uh, difficult. And why aren't I healing? Why aren't I whole and clear today? And I think it's something we move through and we realize that we're imperfectly perfect. And, you know, as we heal, another layer might come up. But I think also we're understanding we don't have to keep going back to where that trauma came from. We can just keep unraveling and unpacking. And every time, and we experienced that together yesterday after our call, every time we just kept unpacking it and going into that awareness, going into what was coming up intuitively, going into the thought, we got to that place of truth and wholeness and love and self-trust, trust in the world, faith in ourselves, and that ability to take that leap of consciousness sometimes, which will say, well, I've got no physical evidence of what this inner knowing is telling me. And that's where faith and trust comes in. And it is that leap in faith that when you come out of your heads and go into your body, you can take. Um, and you can lead a life that's very happy and very whole, and we're very confident in who we are, as we do release those patterns and limitations, and those patterns and limitations are just ready to turn back into the light. But yeah, I think it's so important what Gina said today, that you've done, if you're listening to this now, you probably are someone that spent time doing a lot of work on yourself, and even if this is new to you, it's saying that our time to be constantly healing, it is going to be coming to an end. There is light at the end of the tunnel, that humanity is going to spend the rest of its existence on earth healing and clearing. It's moving into a time of wholeness. And that's going to be a whole nother adventure and experience of being magical, co-creators, joyful. That's a whole nother chapter in humanity's experience on Earth. That we will probably look back at this time now like we do the Dark Ages and think, gosh, it's very different how what their beliefs were, how they lived. But yeah, it's a real time of evolvement, and any energy that Junior I are sending as well is coming. I don't understand technical stuff that well, but it is going through the electrical wiring around the Earth. YouTube does go around Earth, so Junior I know that the transmission of this is incredibly healing as well.
Also, yeah, I cannot. There's a couple of things, Amanda. It's not that, as always, I'm kind of feeling into what you're saying rather than just listening to it. And there is a couple of things that pop up. One is, we mentioned the word healing quite a few times now, on this, episode specifically. And I know how much, in terms of the spiritual, the spiritualist, the spiritual word, or, however we call it, we use that word healing, and it's been used a lot. And the question that came to me is like, what healing really means, you know what I mean? Because it means one thing, for you, Amanda, it means something for me, and it might mean something, for whoever is watching now. So I know that there will be some people that feels like, oh, again, talking about healing, and there are other people like, oh, what can I do, what I mean, to heal myself, because I'm not completely healed, and so on. And the analogy that is coming to me is almost like, that like if we go back into the situation, the wound that happened with Gabor, my fiance, and if you don't know me, so my fiance had a bite from our dog, from Charlie, and everything else. Now there is healing, by itself. Now there was a moment where we needed to go to a specialist so he can do the stitches and everything else.
Yeah.
But that's done. It's not about like opening up again, what I mean? Let's dig it back again and then go back again and then come back and so on. It's about, trusting that specialist, that moment, it was done. And now it's just letting, the body, the soul, go through its own process to, heal. And then afterwards you can have fun with it. You know what I mean? You can, use, you talk, you eat, or you do whatever you need to do with your body, with your soul, and so on.
Yeah.
And I feel with the mental healing that, or spiritual healing that we're going to go through, and I like to describe these two kind of descriptions as well. Whenever we talk about spiritual, from my perspective, it's something that the mind doesn't understand yet. Do you see what I mean? It's science can explain up to a point, and that is, what we call science and mind and everything else. And then there's a point where science yet can't explain, but we know inside of ourselves. So, and then that we can call it the spiritual world, and then so on in there. But I feel that the healing, being a spiritual healing, being a mental healing, it's the same way as well. There will be a moment where you actually can go there, open the wound, you see it, I mean, clean it up, wash it out, and then you can do the stitches and then allow it to heal. And then there will be another moment where you kind of, oh, I have a pain in my knee again. Do you see what I mean? And then you go and you investigate. Maybe you get an X-ray, and then you find out what's going on. And then you look at that, because it's nothing more than your body. Hey, pay attention to this part here. What's going on? Do you see, in that way? And our minds in the same way, when it came up yesterday for me, or, the contraction, the feeling, and then related to, for me it was money yesterday, but then it could be anything for anyone that's watching. It could be a relationship, it could be your partner, it could be, I don't know, your parents, your mom, or, your sibling, whatever it is that is going on. It's just like, okay, should I, take an X-ray of that and everything? But it doesn't mean that after you've done it and you heal, like, the lip from Gabo, now it's just about letting it heal itself, and then you can play it again, and you're gonna, do the things that you get to do. And there will be another moment where you get to, I fell from the bike. Okay, so now let's sort it out. That next.
I love that, because you're right. We use the word healing, and healing is just a return to wholeness, isn't it? It's a return to well-being. It's a return to health, wholeness, well-being. So whether it's on a purely physical side, as I think Gabor's lip, and that healing is also, we know that there's a deep knowledge within our bodies, because we're not sitting there saying, well, I need to now put some inflammatory cells in there to get the blood. We're not sitting there consciously making the healing happen, and we know how healing happens physically, but we're not consciously doing it. So we know there's a huge intelligence in the body. Our bodies are designed to heal. Our body's natural set point is well-being, wholeness, health. So healing really is just as bringing all parts of ourselves, whether it's a thought, an emotion, a spirituality, a physicality, bringing it up to the health and well-being that is its natural state, is its natural desire to be. And as you so rightly said, Junior, we know that some healings can be like that on an emotional, mental level. Sometimes they're so ready, we've done so much work, they're so at a level to be healed, and we feel such a deep, profound shift that doesn't change. That shift has happened, and we know it has, because you feel it. You feel the lightness. Even if you try and think about the thoughts that were previously troubling you, there's just almost I kind of can't almost grasp what that was. But sometimes as we heal, we might just heal layers. So as we heal the surface layers, there can be an integration within our bodies of that. And we know that because we just trust, I don't want to keep picking at this. I just need to integrate this healing and embody the healing, the knowledge that's coming through. Because as we heal as well, there's a lot of physical changes, the plasticity, the neural pathways, our biochemistry in our body changes, our cells change, our cells heal, the actual chemical composition our cells are in changes, our hormonal balance changes, our connection to ourself changes, that wholeness, that presence comes through even more, the light comes through even more. So there's lots of things happening. So I think it's beautiful that you said that as we heal, we'll understand there's a time to allow that healing to integrate. So for Gabor, he's not looked at his lip and said, well, why hasn't it instantly returned to normal cells? He knows there's an integration, there's a time of embodiment. And that's when Gabor's now getting on with his day. He's doing what he needs to do. He's making sure it's clean. He's just keeping an eye on it. And that's what we do when we share the open eye meditation. When we go to that place of calm and stillness and space and relaxation, and it becomes an open experience, we can connect to ourselves. We go into that theta brainwave without having to fall asleep or be hypnotized. We can be very present and aware. And it's in that state that true healing does occur. And that's why if you go and see the doctor and you've got an illness, they'll say, are you stressed? Because stress, the sympathetic nervous system, you can't be in both. You can't be in the parasympathetic of calm and space and stillness and healing. You can't be in the sympathetic, which is stress, fight, flight, fight, survival mechanism. You cannot be in both at the same time. It's one or the other. So we know that by allowing ourselves to relax, taking that time during the day, using our breathing, going into that place of calm, going into our body awareness, opening up our body, our intention is to go within and see what's there that needs our attention, that needs our care. That's where the transitions, the transformations, the returning to wholeness, well-being, the returning on a consciously aware level of who we are, that is more than just our beautiful, miraculous physical bodies. And it really, you hear people, I think Wayne Dyer said the journey is from the mind to the heart. That's the most difficult journey, because humanity has got a little bit lost just in thoughts. And we're not making thoughts wrong, but we need to integrate that deeper body knowing and awareness that is so much deeper than thought and emotion.
I, I love that, Amanda. It's just I love that you bring that back to that calmness, to that place. And I was just referring that we mentioned the open eye meditation. We've done it in a few episodes. It's just if you're listening to this specifically and you haven't seen it, I was just checking. It's episode number 3 that we talk about that, and you can experience that yourself. And you can use that almost like just to reconnect with who you really are. There's another episode I think that we've done about be who you really are, which is I think it's episode number 7 as well. So like there's episode number 3 and episode number 7 that we talk about, who we really are and about the open eye meditation.
Yeah.
And I feel, again, going back just with the analogy that I mentioned earlier at the beginning of this as well, with the, brushing your teeth and everything. So that open eye meditation could be your, daily mental hygiene, where you kind of, you can come out of that stressful, not connected, the contraction in you, even
Yeah.
in an open eye space where you can actually, how can I come back to yourself? And then that can calm things down and you can connect to who you really are back again.
Yeah.
So if you haven't, watched that episode, I would highly recommend as well. Like, so episode 3. And if you want to connect a bit more with who we really are as well, we spoke about that on episode 7 as well. So just like connecting people with what we
Yeah.
spoke here. So
Yeah. No, thank you for that. Yeah, and I think that's what we're saying, isn't it? There's so much to talk about here
yeah,
that, and it's doing it on all the different levels as well, isn't it? You know, the different levels of the things we're talking about. Yeah, I love your toothbrush analogy, because so many people are suffering, aren't they? You meet so many people that I'm stressed, I'm anxious, I'm worried, and or they've got so many physical illnesses now that are coming out, adrenal fatigue, fibromyalgia. There's all sorts of ME, all sorts of illnesses that are coming through because people are so in their heads and the body's reacting to stress continuously. We're not meant to live in that place. Yes, if there's a physical danger, like the deer in the woods, her ears will prick. Yeah, I think that's a wolf. I've got to run. But as soon as she's escaped, she's got away, she very much returns to calm again. There's no thought around it. And that's humanity realizing that, um, yeah. So I've gone full circle with my practice, because when I first started, I was so passionate about just using breath. And I've come right back to that now, that when I work with people, it's very much about just using your breathing, going to open body awareness. That opens up theta brainwaves. And in that space, we're not saying in that calm, you're not going to feel the contraction. You will feel if there's a contraction there, but there's a space around it. So you can be with that contraction. You can hold it, you can feel it, you can start to get some sort of guidance around, I wonder what this contraction is. And by feeling it, you might start to get some sort of understanding about where it's coming from, and what it might need to heal, and how we release that energy of emotion that's in our body around it, to then reprogram our mind and then bring in to our bodies that lightness of wholeness and that knowingness of who we are, that presence that brings even more healing to our bodies as well.
and you can carry on with our days doing what we get to do while the
Yeah.
is happening as well. So awesome. Amanda, I think, yeah, again, another great episode. I know that we didn't have like a specific like topic at the beginning, but I think healing was the one that came through the whole way through. And I feel it was good to go a little bit deeper into, what
Yeah.
healing is and how, it happens, and yeah, how we connect with everything. So yeah, thank you so much. And I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone as well that's watching us as well. And as we just mentioned, even before we jumped live as well, we know that, the healing that is happening again to ourselves here while we know, me and Amanda, we're having a chat, there is a ripple effect on people around us as well. And I can see, like, even like this morning, for example, when I hugged Gabor, or Charlie, that has a ripple effect. Do you see what I mean? It makes it a better day, for the people around us, that make the other people that are around them, and so on. And even like, as Amanda was saying, even if people are not watching, people that are not watching on this as well, they will feel the ripple effect in that as well. And I know that if you're here and you're listening to this and you kind of doing the work in yourself as well, and you feel connected with what we're saying here, you are actually making that change. You are transforming, the world around you and the world that we live on by you doing the work that you're doing in yourself. So thank you.
And to feel that global connection, isn't there? Because we might not have to sit with somebody that's on the other side of the world, but I love it when we do the grounding work as well, because you feel, you don't even know who that person is physically, but you can feel there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of people doing this work, and this energy, we're sending it out. There's a transmission. So whatever the outcome is, our intention is to send an energy of healing that you beautifully brought back to. What is healing then? And I love the fact you did that. So thank you for that.
Awesome. So thank you again. And then as always, just to finish off, if that feels good for you, subscribe to the channel so you can receive the new episodes as well. If it feels good to investigate and check all the other episodes as well, including the open eye meditation that we mentioned here, who we really are, there's another episode 7 as well. And if there is any comments, and if there is anything that you want to share or ask or anything else, please feel free to comment below, and then we're going to be in touch as well. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Have a lovely day. Lots of love. Bye bye.